Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is JD. Who's here with me?
It's Michelle.
It's Michelle. Happy Valentine's Day, Michelle.
Thanks. I watch people beat the shit out of each other to celebrate.
Oh, okay. Please expound on that. Give us that could go so many ways.
Yeah, I paid some people to fight. I mean, kind of. In a way, that's true. I took my husband to hockey, and I loved it.
Ooh,
And I wore my Jason Voorhees jersey, and that's
nice.
good. Yeah.
It's like a Jason Voorhees hockey jersey.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
rad. That's rad.
Yeah.
How
It's
did John?
part of my Jason Voorhees burlesque routine. So.
Oh, that's fabulous. And so, John, you told me he's never been to a live hockey game before?
Not a professional one. I guess
Oh,
he's
okay.
gone in high school, but had not gone to a Fargo Force game, and they're very different.
Oh, sure. Yeah, even the smaller league professional players are a cut above the average Joe out on the ice for sure.
I love the fights, and I yelled so loud that my throat hurts because at one point, one of the guys from the Omaha Lancers, who were the visiting team, ripped off his gloves to properly punch somebody, and it happened right in front of me, and I was yelling so loudly, and it was really great because that guy, he's like, I don't fuck around. If I'm punching you, we're not doing it with all this armor in between us. And that was just really, really great. And I feel like hockey's my favorite sport to watch live. It's hockey and basketball. But hockey would be so much better if they just let you fight. You know, I want like hockey MMA.
um, do you understand how severe CTE is across the board in NHL players because of all the fighting they're allowed to do?
Yeah. What's your point?
People are dying.
Yeah, we're all dying, but they should die for my
Jesus.
amusement.
Thanks, Sylvia Plath. We're all, oh God. Yes, in the grand scheme of things, we're all fucking. Well, then I guess it's not a big deal that they're gonna gut Medicare, is it?
Oh, too real.
It
They're
always
going
comes.
after psychiatric meds, which means I might actually die. If they
I
take my meds
know.
away, I will
Yeah,
not survive. Yeah.
isn't it fabulous? It's so
Yep.
wonderful. Hey guys, how many of you were impressed to learn how many dumbasses in this country weren't aware that U.S. aid is not just a foreign aid program, but also a domestic farm subsidy program? And now, bunch of fucking middle America Bible belt fucking farmer Republican Trump voters are all getting stabbed in the face. Wonder who told you that was going to happen. My
It
cousin
is
lost his.
crazy.
My cousin just this year started a new job with the United States Fish and Wildlife Service. Not 2 weeks ago, they flew him to Washington, D.C. to do a week's worth of training there, and he was just told a couple of days ago that he was supposed to go spend a couple of weeks in Alaska doing training up there, but then they said, oh, no, anybody still in their probationary period is just gone. And so he woke up this morning. Within a matter of an hour or so after starting his day, he was locked out of his computer, lost his job, everything's gone. It's just, if you listen to this podcast regularly, you better get used to us. We got a therapy portion and we got a what the fuck is going on in America portion of this
And they
podcast
overlap
because,
quite a bit right
yeah,
now.
yeah, in a lot of ways they're the very same fucking segment. But yeah.
I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but like I'm a big fan of conspiracies. I'm a big conspiracy theorist. I don't necessarily believe all conspiracies, but I do
Right.
find them interesting, and I do really sometimes like it, I do go a little crazy with it.
Well,
And
I
what
think
sucks?
I'm sorry to interrupt. What I would
No, it's
say
okay.
is I don't necessarily buy it, but I can definitely I can see the logic in the construction they've put together.
Exactly. It's very interesting.
There are a few specific leaps and probably a couple moments where things have been verifiably debunked that they just refuse to accept. but some of these things are very elaborate and really well thought out.
Yeah, conspiracy theories, either it's a really good theory that maybe I should keep on my radar, or it's a really interesting study in human psychology. And the
Absolutely.
problem I'm having right now is that none of the conspiracies that I would put any weight behind seem crazy anymore. Like my big one was always the Illuminati. Like my big thing was always like, you guys,
They
Illuminati, the
don't
elite are
seem
controlling
crazy
Hollywood.
anymore.
And
I
now I'm
love it.
like, the elite controlling Hollywood means nothing in comparison to the guy who owns Twitter is in control of our money.
Yeah, there is nothing more ludicrous than what we're going through right now. Like right now. And it's oh god.
The guy who's in
It's
charge of our health does not believe in medications for
oh yeah. Yeah.
psychiatric
Yeah.
issues. Like,
And now I don't
what?
know if you saw they're talking about rounding up people with anxiety and depression and sending them to camps, Michelle.
Yeah, because the
What does
best
that
way to
sound
get rid
like
of
to
my
you?
anxiety is abducting me and putting me in a camp.
Well, look, let's be honest here. What they're genuinely counting on, and I'm sorry if this is a little bit aggressive for some of you, but I think, frankly, they're counting on a lot of us to kill ourselves.
Oh, absolutely.
It's,
Yep.
anyway, we came here to talk about horror movies. That's enough politics nonsense. Do you have any
Nothing's
other
more horrific
therapy?
than what is happening right now.
No, no. People are like, how can you watch all that incredible violence and gore and awful horror movies? And you can't see it, obviously, because it's a podcast, but I just kind of wildly gesture at everything around me. And I'm just like, I mean, what could be
I
worse, you know?
I've spent one more thing, and then we
Oh,
can
of
go to the horror
course.
movie.
No, you can have as many things as you want.
I don't want to turn into all that though, because I like to try to escape the world a little bit by talking
Yeah,
about, other people dying who are fictional instead of, old
right.
people who rely on Medicaid. This is my escape. So um um um
There is
um
no escape.
yeah. No, here's the thing. I've spent a lot of time reading the other side, just people who agree with what's going on. And they're like, well, don't you want to uncover corruption? And yes, I do. I completely wholeheartedly believe that. I find it impossible that all of a sudden, all of this corruption is uncovered and we can immediately fire millions of people and everything gets better. That is not a solution.
Here, my response to that, Michelle, is no. I don't want to uncover corruption because I don't need to uncover corruption. The corruption is staring you right in the fucking face.
The call's
Like,
coming from inside the house.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I do not understand
Oh,
how somebody could look at this and not be afraid.
I don't understand how somebody could look at it and not, like, how do people look at this and agree with fucking Musk and Trump? Like, how, like, and this is why, I don't know, I'm worried that there's something genetic that prevents a certain kind of person from having any kind of empathy at all. And if there is something specifically genetic about it, it's a really interesting question, but do we have any kind of responsibility to try and remove that from the population, which then becomes a whole thing like, oh, now we're talking about eugenics. And I was like, this is why monsters make other people monsters, because you're just like, oh, no, you've got the right idea, just the wrong fucking target.
I know a solution.
Just
I have always said that I wish I was a little bit more ignorant because it seems so much better, then I wouldn't have anxiety if I don't know certain things to be worried about. And I feel like maybe what I need to do is I'm pushing for more fights in hockey. Maybe I need to just start playing hockey. No padding, nothing, just head trauma and happiness from here on out. There's
Head
actually a
trauma
Chuck
and
Hall-
happiness would be a great title for something.
my next comedy album, which is true because I do have head trauma. Now that I think about it, I have a traumatic brain injury that caused me to forget my name for a couple weeks. Um, Oh, there is a Chuck Palahniuk book, a short story. Now that I think about it, that is that exact concept, which is a kid was very upset about high school and was way too stressed out and was like a star athlete and a really good student and all this stuff, and he felt too much pressure, so he found one of the defibrillators that they kept in the hall and zapped himself in the head, and now was the happiest guy, no thoughts in that head whatsoever. And it became an epidemic of teenagers trying to do that to themselves, and everybody was just zapping themselves in the head because it was so much better than having to feel pressure about studying for a test. And they had to like remove all the defibrillators from the school. They had to lock them up in hospitals because it was such an epidemic that people wanted to zap themselves and just feel nothing but happiness. And I kind of feel like if I had access to a defibrillator, I would do a second thought. I would,
Chuck is
I would, yeah.
Chuck is a madman.
He's one of my favorite authors. Even if I don't love one of his books, I still love one of his books.
Yeah,
Something I don't like.
there's definitely stuff he's done that I didn't care for, but there's also plenty of stuff he's done that I really enjoyed. So, you know.
I'll try to find I can't remember what it's called, but I'll have to send you the short story that is
Well, then,
kids just zapping themselves in the head to get out of studying.
and
it's a
even
great
the
one.
stuff that I don't like, you always gotta at least respect how goddamn clever the guy is. He comes up with some wild ideas. Like, I've read several of his things, and I think Fight Club is the least interesting thing he's ever written, which isn't to say it's not good. And by the way, the book is way better than the film, as is often the case. But yeah, he is a crazy person in some of the most interesting ways.
The name of the Chuck Palahniuk short story, because I had to go look it up because it was going to drive me crazy, is very aptly named Zombie.
Oh,
So,
okay. Gotcha.
highly recommend.
All right.
Now I want to
12
go
minutes.
read Chuck Palahniuk. I gotta go. I gotta
right.
go read some more.
Never mind. We'll talk about the dead thing another time.
Yeah, okay. I am the dead thing. Oh,
That is,
I feel dead
we're
inside.
all, I mean, if we really stop to think about it, aren't we all dying, Michelle?
Yeah. More
Fucking
hockey fights.
Sylvia Plath over here. Anyway, yeah, we're here to talk about the dead thing, guys. It's Valentine's Day, and
We clearly brought so much joy and romance to the show tonight.
Yeah, we're just full of love and true love.
Yeah. Also, if you are listening and you are realizing this is episode 290 and you did not get an episode 289, do not worry. You are not wrong. That is currently under construction. And
Yeah,
you will get it eventually. And I refuse to tell you what the movie or who our special guest was because I need it to be perfect.
Okay, yeah, so I won't tell you those things either, but I will tell you the reason for the delay is itself a hilarious comedy of errors. But what I can also tell you is that the way we're going to finally get the episode is equally ridiculous because it's something that I had just resigned. And I was just like, I'm not. I can't. I will go crazy. At which point, of course, just obsessive perfectionist, give me 8,000 things to do at once, Michelle said, fuck it, send me the files. I'll spend however many hours it takes to make this work, and that's why we love you.
I have been waiting 5 days for you to tell me you gave up so that I could tell you to send me the files.
Michelle,
I have been patiently waiting.
Why did you wait? You should have just been...
I didn't want to be like, just let me do it. I can do it better than you. Just send me the files. I was giving you time to resign yourself to it not being fixed.
If I'm 100% honest with myself, because it's okay, because I checked it before I wrecked it, there was a moment when you first asked me to send you the files where in my head I said to myself, the fuck you gonna be able to do that I wasn't able to figure out? Never occurring to me whatsoever that what you were going to do is the insanely time-consuming thing that I simply was not going to do. It clearly demonstrates that this is your podcast now because you care about it significantly more than I do. Let me be clear. And look, we'll get to the dead thing here in a bit. Let me be clear. There is a version of this that we could have put out. It doesn't sound great. We've had bad audio quality episodes before, unfortunately, but we're a very small independent podcast. And, you know,
hemorrhaging funds. Hemorrhaging funds.
Hey,
the corruption is coming from our show. We are the ones losing the money.
Well, one of us is the ones losing anyway.
I haven't updated the budget sheet in a long time. So
it's probably a good thing.
Be very skewed.
And here's the interesting part: is instead of deciding to start dumping what money I could into the podcast, I said, well, as long as Michelle's got this under control, I'm going to go produce a film festival.
Exactly why this works so well.
Because we love each other. I do
not want to produce a film festival. That sounds like a nightmare. Instead, give me 3 separate audio tracks that I can like just sit there and obsessively make work.
It's been a lot of work, and it just occurs to me that I completely lost the thread of what I was going to talk about here before. What were you talking about most recently that I was going to follow up on and then completely derailed?
Zapping myself in the face is definitely all that's on my mind right now. And once I zap myself in the face, it won't be on my mind anymore. Nothing will be on my mind. And God, doesn't that just sound so nice? I don't want anxiety. I don't want to fight with people on Reddit. You know, I really don't want to. But it's just
put the Reddit down, Michelle. Just put it down.
I did have to take a break from Reddit because one day my husband came home from work and I was having a full-blown panic attack because I read somebody's story about the way that their cat died, and it was a horrible freak accident where the cat was doing the zoomy thing that cats do and hit a wall too hard and just died immediately.
Oh no!
And that was all I could think about, and so I had to take a 24-hour break from Reddit.
Was that like a The Ring thing where you were like, the only way I can survive this is if I'm not the only one? So you had to pass it on to somebody else. I didn't think anybody would be as
affected as I am by it. So,
Michelle, I just got done watching Flow, which is a pile of anxiety about a kitty.
That was one of the fastest moments I've cried to an animated movie. I think the only time quicker than that would have been Up. Because everybody cries to Up, but Flow, I cried immediately.
Yeah, guys, Flow just dropped on. Let's fuck the dead thing. We're just gonna talk today. I'm kidding.
Therapy portion. The
fuck time. The dead thing. That's funny for reasons.
Well,
but Flow just dropped on HBO Max. I'm gonna call it HBO Max forever.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that wants to keep calling it HBO Go. Remember HBO Go? Do you also remember when HBO Go was first launched and the CEO himself of HBO said, yeah, just go ahead and give your login and password to anybody. We don't care. And now look at it.
Okay, Grandpa. Like those days ever existed.
I remember that.
Back in my day.
Look, I was a Netflix subscriber for several years before streaming Netflix even fucking existed. All right, I'm a goddamn.
Me too. My entire watch list was Googled lists of the most fucked up movies, and I had to wait for them to arrive on DVD.
Yep, I first learned about Netflix in 1998 with our family.
Oh, wow.
With our family tax return that year, my parents bought our first family DVD player, and in the box with the DVD player was a bunch of included advertising for other associated companies, and one of them was a flyer for a new service called Netflix, where you could rent DVDs by mail. But at that time, they only had like 4 shipping centers nationwide, and in Jamestown, North Dakota, if you wanted to get a video for a DVD from Netflix, it was going to take 3 to 4 days to get to you, and then 3 to 4 days to get back. So you'd be lucky to get like 3 movies and 4 movies a month. But yeah, so I'm real fucking old, and we're now 20 minutes into this episode, and we haven't even started talking about the dead thing yet.
That's the oldest person thing I think I've ever heard.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah,
fucking
definitely nothing older than that. The
no.
invention of Netflix is as far back as my mind can envision.
And I was already 18 when that happened. 17, excuse me. I know, guys. We came. If first of all, if this is your first time tuning into the show, I'm sorry. But this is just what you get. This is who we are and how it goes. We are here to talk about The Dead Thing. Directed by Elric Kane, co-written by Elric Kane and Webb Wilcoxon. Michelle, what did you know about The Dead Thing before it dropped on Shudder this week?
I'm doing a much better job of writing notes to myself of where I heard about movies and why I should be excited about them. I do not remember. I just know this movie poster is one that I got excited about every time I saw it, and I don't know what that means. Was it from a festival? I didn't actually go back. It was before I was taking notes about, like, saw this at Sundance, looked really exciting. So it was on my list. I got excited when I saw it was getting put on Shudder. I have no idea why. I knew nothing about the plot. Nothing. It's all in there. I zap myself. It's gone.
I may have seen the poster or something at some point. I know it was super well regarded at Fantasia last year. That's where it had its premiere. But that's literally all I knew. And then they started hitting it real hard with the promo on the lead up here to Valentine's Day because of course, the nature of the film. Now that we've seen it, it sort of ties in. It's kind of a love story horror movie. But yeah, I didn't know anything about it. I was way over caffeinated to the point where, as I mentioned to some people, it felt like my bones were vibrating inside my body. And so I watched this immediately, as soon, like the instant it dropped on Shudder this morning. And I've been itching.
CST?
Yes, 3 a.m. CST, absolutely. And I'm chomping at the bit to talk about it. Do you want to give these people... No, I was going to do the description, wasn't I?
You were, because we were slightly altering it. We did not like
the
scripts from any of the spots, so we are adjusting.
The first half of it is real good. The second half of it is it's a bridge too far, guys.
There's some stuff I didn't know, and it reveals it.
Right. All right. Yeah. The Dead Thing. Directed by Elric Kane. A young woman, lost in a series of meaningless connections, falls in love with a charismatic and sensitive man that she meets on a dating app. The Dead Thing. A Shudder original. 2025, 95 minutes. Michelle.
Uh-huh.
Spoiler-free thoughts, please.
Spoiler-free thoughts. What's getting really frustrating about our show is that I feel like I'm just very agreeable to a lot of things in 2025 so far. I don't like to hate movies. I prefer if people make movies that I enjoy. And I watch a lot of really bad movies, but it seems like all the movies that we've reviewed on our show since Hanukkah, I've had at least like a slightly positive experience. It's like the world is making up for making me watch Hanukkah by giving me all these other things that I do enjoy. And I'm just so predictable, but I like The Dead Thing. It is very horror adjacent.
Yes.
I will get into some stuff in the spoiler section. There's not a lot that I can really say about why this worked for me. But I will say that slow burns aren't really my thing. Drama is not really my thing. This kind of falls into the realm of both of those, and yet I still really liked it. I can tell you a big part of the reason for that is that Blue Hunt is fantastic at portraying what is happening. And even when she's not speaking for a very good portion of time, she has these expressions that let you into all her thoughts. And puts new meaning to the phrase "come inside." And Anyway, The Dead Thing, I really, really enjoyed this, and I feel like it somehow portrayed a subject matter that Lifetime would cover in a way so much better than Lifetime could have ever covered it. I am going to go with a 4.5.
4.5, no kidding.
I'm also surprised.
All right, 4.5 skulls for the dead thing from
Yeah.
Michelle.
JD,
Yeah.
as a fellow Dead Thing, could you tell us what you thought about this particular Dead Thing?
Yeah, for sure. Just to clarify for any of you out there who might be curious, the technicality is dead inside thing, and that's just fine. We are
I
accepting of
don't
all
have a
dead
heartbeat.
things here.
Is
Really?
that a problem? Yeah.
No, I know it's certainly not a problem. As I said, we're accepting of all kinds of dead things here.
Good. Yeah, defibrillator my head,
Okay.
defibrillator my heart. No thoughts, heart pumping again.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
And here's the interesting thing. My response to the dead thing very similar to your response for the dead thing.
nice.
There are parts of this that are not my thing. Like really
Not your dead
not
thing.
my thing. Oh, Jesus Christ. um I'm not typically big on sexy time romance stories. USA up all night silk stockings type shit. It's not always my vibe. Even ghost stories are it's I'm very selective about ghost stories. I agree with you that some of this was kind of slow, but once it did get going, it really got going. There are a couple of things that I thought were really interesting that just kind of never got talked about. They were just there and then they disappeared. But overall, yeah, I enjoyed this. Honestly, I was halfway through it and I was like, I'm not sure how this is going to work for me. But by the time I was done, I came back around. And my reaction to this was 4 skulls.
Four skulls. Four
Yeah,
skulls plus 4.5 skulls gives us an average of 4.25 human skulls out of
it
5.
sure does.
It does. Well,
All
let's
right,
talk
well,
about
have a good
politics
night,
some more. Now
everybody.
that that's out of the way. Spoiler
Yeah, should
section.
we get into some spoilers here? If you haven't seen the movie yet and
Yeah.
you don't want us to spoil anything, pause the episode and go watch it. We'll be here when you get back. Michelle,
Mm-hmm.
do you believe you are prepared to summarize the plot of this film for those of our audience who are fine with knowing what's going on or have already seen it?
Oh, like Jenna. Jenna, who never watches the movie Jenna. Yes, I will summarize it for her because I know for a fact she is not going to watch this one
That's
before
that's
listening to the episode. There's no way.
I'm
No
glad
way.
that you're prepared because you didn't have a choice.
Okay, good. I will say that I watched this movie and then I watched one episode of the newest season of Love is Blind that dropped on Valentine's Day, which is such a funny, funny thing for them to do. And it is the one that takes place in Minneapolis. And I have friends of friends who have stories about the men on that show. So I watched The Dead Thing. I watched one episode of Love is Blind season 8, and then I went to a hockey game. So this has been filtered through a lot of different thoughts. And let's go for it. Okay, The Dead Thing. It starts with no dialogue for a long time, and normally that's a bad idea for me. However, it does work. What it has instead of dialogue is moans because there's a whole lot of sex. And the lady in this, that just immediately I was like, I'm not going to like this because this seems so exhausting and like a really bad idea. Who would have a hobby of just fucking random men? But then I remembered that I have a hobby of collecting squelching subtitles. So we all have things that get our rocks off and don't appeal to other people. So I can't really judge her for that. She meets one guy and they have a really good time together and things are like very sweet. And then she goes to work and she never hears from him again. And she sends him some messages and she tries to get hold of him on their app. Friction, which is a terrible name for an app, like a dating app, because I just think of rug burn. Like that, friction is not like, I know friction doesn't necessarily mean like rug burn and like terrible, like warm, uncomfortable, but like that's why I think of sandpaper, not what I want in a dating app. Um, s-
Also, I feel like Friction is a little bit more reminiscent of Grinder than, say, Tinder, but I think everybody will know what I'm saying when I say this was definitely more of a Tinder than a Grinder app, for
yeah, because
sure.
Grinder is generally gay men. So
Well, I
there's
wasn't
that
gonna say it,
difference.
but yeah.
Oh, I know what Grinder is. I've looked with it. I've never been on it, but I know what it is. Okay, so she never hears from this guy again. His name is Kyle? Yes,
Kyle,
Kyle.
correct.
I remembered a name. I'm so proud. IMDb does not list the names of people, and that's driving me nuts. So, Blue Hunt, I know I love her. I do not remember her character's name at all. John Carna, I recognize him, had to remember his name's Kyle. IMDb, like, I don't know who submits their shit, but I want to, like, get editing privileges like I have on Wikipedia. And I just noticed there is an edit button, and holy shit, I can add information, and this is going to change my life. Okay, I need to think about that later because I got some IMDb pages to go update after this. So, yes, hi JD.
Blue Hunt's character's name is Alex.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that will be on the IMDb page once this
That's
episode is
the
done and I've learned how to edit.
and that's the only other one I remember besides Kyle. I can't tell you a
Perfect.
single other. Also, I
Oh,
want to be clear, as long as I've interrupted again, that I wasn't trying to make Michelle feel bad or make a big
I feel
deal about
nothing.
her saying it was an app for gay men. What was really happening is I wasn't 100% certain exactly what flavor of not cishet people Grinder was, and I was about to, and then I realized, wait a minute, I don't know for sure that that's what it is. And I tried to pull it out. This is what's wrong with me, is I cover up for something in a way that nobody gives a shit about anyway, and then I feel bad for covering it up to the point where I have to explain exactly what I just did. Fuck, I need to get that therapy referral figured out as soon as possible. Anyway, I'm so sorry, Michelle. Please continue.
Well, since we were talking about Grinder, I do want to tell a funny Grinder anecdote before I continue the
Do
rest of
it.
this plot. And
What
that
a
is back when I lived in the area and came to comedy open mics. He would meet guys on Grinder and invite them to hang out with him at a bar, and then he'd invite them to the comedy open mics. And there was one day where he just had a table of all of his Grinder dudes hanging out together at a Wednesday night comedy open mic.
that's
That's
a
my favorite use of it.
that's a fantastic story, Michelle. We probably should go back and make sure we edit out his name.
I don't think it's a secret. He announced it on stage many times.
Well, what I'm well, okay, fair, but
Okay.
also none of the people. Am I over? God damn it! Please just continue the description. I'm gonna go hide in my shame.
I will make a note that you can edit the name out just in case so that you don't have to lose sleep about it because we both have a lot of anxiety. Okay, so back to the story. Alex, she likes fucking. Ain't that nice? She meets this guy. His name's Kyle. He's also I was gonna say precluded, whatever. He's a fan of Fanny. And so he decides they decide to hook up. They have a good time. They never talk to each other again, as most hookups are apt to become. And then she tries to track him down at work. And they're like, "Oh, sorry, that guy that you were asking us about, he died." And she's like, "This is a joke, right?" And they're like, "No, here is his obituary or his funeral card, whatever it is. Here you go, proof that he died." But then she sees him and she knows he's not dead. And then she starts another account to hook up with him, and he does not remember her. And then she's like, "Well, okay, this sucks." And then she goes home, but then he follows her, and somehow his broken ear pods are what tell him that he's dead. I know how it actually works out. We're just summing it up that way. And then he looks in a reflection, he sees himself dead, and now he's like, "Oh shit, I'm dead." But I got this fine lady named Alex, and even death can't keep me away from that punani. That's exactly how he says it. It was a really weird piece of dialogue. I was like, this feels out of place. Why did you say it like that and then wink at her? But Alex was into it. I don't understand either. So they hook up and it's good. You could say it's really like supernaturally good, in a way that is kind of shocking to her. And then it does become very shocking because as she's hooking up with this guy, he starts like disappearing inside of her and she can hear his thoughts. And it's like a much sexier version of Ghost with Patrick Swayze. There is no molding of a pot, just molding of those breasts. I don't know where I'm going with that. Anyway, so she realizes she has lost a week of time because she goes to work and they're like, "We replaced you because we thought you died." And she's like, "What do you mean? It's been a week." She's just been having sex for a week. And she is realizing that this is really bad for her, because Kyle is also very possessive and is like, "No, don't go to work. Just stay with me forever." And things are getting really scary. And then her roommate, who is her friend, weird, roommates can be friends. How is that even possible? If you live with somebody, you're supposed to hate them because they leave all the cupboards open and they're always standing in the one spot in the kitchen that you need to get into, and they leave random lights on. Anyway, I'm so glad I don't have a roommate. I have a husband, and guess what? He does all of those things. So I call him my roommate, and he does not like that. So I'm like, this is my roommate. He's like, we're married. I'm like, that's just an added benefit of our very good friendship. So
It's a
the
tax
roommate,
arrangement.
yeah, exactly. I mean, not too wrong there. Except I pay way more for taxes now than I did when I was single, and it was definitely a bitter moment when I realized that. So Alex has a roommate. The roommate has an ex-boyfriend. The ex-boyfriend comes over, and then the ghost man, Kyle, he gets mad at the ex-boyfriend because he realizes that he hooked up with Alex. And now that guy, there's a squelching moment. He dies. And then the roommate also dies. Sadly, did not need to happen. And then he shows Alex this letter that the roommate's ex had written her about how they were hooking up, and it wasn't just a fling. And he's like, "Why didn't you tell me about him?" And Alex is like, "I didn't know who you were when I knew him. This is fucking crazy." And she's right. And so she tells Kyle that she needs some space. And he's like, "Okay." And then he just poofs out of existence. And happy story, right? Now she can go be with the new coworker who is no longer a coworker because they thought that she was missing and died. And she goes to a nice little outing with him, and they go to a hotel, and she goes to take a shower, and he goes to get drowned in like what is a really cool scene because I was thinking of the logistics of this. It is just one shot. I do like that 2024, 2025 seems to be the era of one shot scenes with no breaks. These long cuts, we are getting a lot of them, and I fucking love it. I should just start a list of movies that really, really have just the no cut scenes for a very extended amount of time because there's a really good one that happens here. But he drowns, and then he goes into the hotel. But wait, didn't he drown? He did. Now he's coughing up water at her, and she's like, "Whoa, when I said you make me wet, I didn't mean like this." And then she looks directly at the camera and she goes, "Am I right?" And again, very weird dialogue choices. I do have some criticisms about the script, but I let it be because I like the rest. And Kyle's like, "I'm wearing your boyfriend. We can be together now." And she's like, "What
I'm
the fuck does
wearing
that
your
mean?"
boyfriend.
And that's very alarming for many reasons. And he's like, "We need to be together. I'm going to choke you until you realize that." And she's like, "Strangling me is not helping me realize that." And he's like, "What if I strangle you harder? Will that make you love me?" Yes, absolutely. That's how it works, Kyle. No wonder Kyle died crossing the street. This man is not very smart. So then she gets away from him and she goes on a date with another person that she met from Tinder Friction Grinder. And she looks in the reflection and she sees that one of her eyes is bloodshot. And then she sees the bruises on her neck. And now she has become the dead thing and realizes that Kyle, a fellow dead thing, made her a dead thing too. The dead thing. Part two, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, that's pretty much the dead thing in a nutshell. Once again, well done, Michelle. Well done.
Yeah.
A couple of details that I want to point out here that I thought were sort of crucial to the story that we may have glossed over. The roommate knows that her boyfriend cheated on her, doesn't know it was with her roommate.
until right before she dies. Terrible time
Right,
to find out about
right.
it.
And
That's
so,
definitely how you become a ghost.
well,
You die
and
with
we
unfinished
also
business.
we also don't know either. I guess maybe some
I
people
had
might
some good
suspect.
hunches.
That's
Yeah.
interesting because I didn't think about it whatsoever at all. It never
Oh,
crossed my mind. Here's probably why, is because if I was that person who had hooked up with my roommate's significant other, there's no way I can keep that secret. I would melt down with guilt and shame, and it would be a disaster, and we would never see each other again. Anyway, and so that was so, and now he's gotta die, and I imagine the roommate's gotta die just because he's angry, and he's a dude. Here's just kind of having random thoughts. Here's actually something that I do want to talk about, because this is an interesting thing about, like, this movie's obviously a metaphor for domestic violence, right? For
I have
shitty
so many
dudes,
things to talk about with that.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's so obviously like, here's, and like, don't get me wrong, I do like it as a ghost story, and I'm totally cool with it being that because it's a really effective ghost story, but in a lot of ways, this would be the exact same movie if he wasn't a ghost and he was just a shitty dude that she met on Tinder, that she got obsessed with, and then it turned into a fucking disaster. Right? Like this could be more or less that exact movie. You look like you're about to burst with thoughts on this,
Yeah.
Michelle. Take it away. Have at it.
I just wanted to make sure that before you went on to the next thing that you said was
No,
crucial to
no,
talk about, I was like, oh, I have to make sure we
here's
talk about that.
here's an important thing I've learned about being able to know when Michelle has things to say. I should probably keep the goddamn video window open in front of me so I can see her the way she can see in me, and be respect. Look, I'm a mess sometimes. Please fill us in on all your, because this is something I do want to say just quickly. I was curious how your reaction to this was going to be, because there are other movies we've seen that have a lot of these elements that have not necessarily worked for you because your response has been like, yeah, I'm a woman, I know. Right? So yeah, go nuts. Tell us all your thoughts about that whole angle in this movie.
Yes. So I have been through a very similar situation to what Alex went through here. And I've seen other movies and TV shows try to portray this protective, manipulative, like jealous boyfriend, and it has never struck me as telling the story as perfectly as this one did, because I think the fact that he is a dead thing and not a physical human man, a lot of people like to say, well, she should just leave. And she could just leave if she really cared. Like, she knows this is dangerous. This did such a fucking great job of showing why that's not always possible, because she is afraid of him, for one, because she does not know what he's capable of, and she wants to continue being nice to him and letting him down so that he does not hurt her or ruin her life. And on the other hand, you also don't just want to be terrible and awful to this person that you had or have strong feelings for. She is trying her hardest to let him down gently, but also to keep herself safe. And in order to keep herself safe, she has to keep him happy. The fact that this is a dead thing and not a human being who is just like a tangible, completely, like, you are a physical thing, like this thing that can literally go inside of her, represents that fear and that hesitation, and why that's not necessarily true. Because sure, Kyle is much scarier because he's capable of a lot of things as a dead thing, but it is just as scary to break up with somebody and then find them at your place of business and your manager having to escort them out because they will not leave on their own. And in the meantime, they're texting you and you're trying to be very nice about it and say, I'm sorry, but you cannot come to my place of employment. And you have to be nice because this person also knows where you live. Like this, I think, managed to sum up that feeling so much better than anything I have ever seen. And additionally, the way that he is like coming in and out of the frame while she is having sex with him, and you see on her face she is realizing that this is ecstasy, but this is also not good for her. It is just like any other addiction related to, anything. Like it could be addiction to this person, it could be addiction to drugs. It is this realization of, I love this. This cannot continue. And I think this did such a perfect way of explaining it. And not everybody's going to get it. And that's okay. But as somebody who has been there, I felt such immense relief for finally finding a movie that summed that up in a way that I never even thought was possible. By making Kyle a dead thing, it made it so much easier to understand. Like, he is scary. I have to be nice to him. I can't just leave and be like, fuck off. I blocked you on everything. Like, he can do things to her. And, like, it does such a great, great job of that.
Yeah, I thought it was a really solid portrayal of the way things can be uh not abuse I mean abusive, but sort of coercive and
Hmm.
inappropriately pressuring in the way that like he's not mean to her right away, right? In her moment,
They
and
never
look,
are.
right, and there's a question I'm going to want to ask you about Alex in just a moment, because
Okay.
I think it's crucial to the understanding of this movie, and I interpreted it one way. I want to see your thoughts. But Alex clearly has problems of her own, right? And she recognizes that. And in her moments of lucidity, when she's seeing through whatever's going on with her because of this relationship, she has told him and asked him that like we can't do this, and he just shows up and continues to just and because she's told him, she's like, you're not good for me, right? But he just keeps not giving her the space she needs, because he knows he can apply that pressure and get what he wants. um and yeah, it was very clear to me, and I don't think it's meant to be subtle in any way what this movie is about. But I thought it did it, and it felt to me like it did it in a very real and believable way. And so it's nice to hear. I mean, not nice to hear, you know what I mean? But
I
no,
love knowing you've
that's
been abused.
right.
That's what
No,
that means out of
it's
context.
somebody smacked you. Thank God. Oh God, please,
Love that for you.
please, no, please. Oh my God, I still
We can
have.
make dark jokes because
Oh
I've been
yeah,
through
and
it, you guys.
yeah,
I'm allowed
but
to joke and I give JD permission.
no, I really liked that element of it. So here's the question that I want to ask you about Alex. Is Alex just a promiscuous lady who really enjoys having sex with a variety of partners, or is Alex a sex addict?
Alex does not enjoy what she is doing. It is the only way that she can feel anything, because I think there is an element of the dead thing is Alex, the entire thing. She is dead inside. She has no joy. She has no ambition. She's not doing a job that she likes. She has been the dead thing for the entirety of the movie. She just
Yeah,
transforms into a different version of it
yeah.
at the end.
Yeah, Alex is the dead thing, right?
Yes.
So also, by the way, how much? Just a quick thing before I forget to ask it: how much of this movie, how much would you bet this movie idea originated because somebody said, "What if you got ghosted because it was a ghost?" I would almost guarantee that's where this idea. What if you got ghosted because it was a ghost? But then what they do with it is real solid. Also, um, there was another thing that I was going to talk about. Okay, it slipped my mind. You talk about something while I try to figure out what I was going to talk about, while also listening to you talk about your thing.
Perfect. I have a thing I can talk about. So we cut out of the IMDb description the part of a sensitive man who hides a dark secret that turns her affair into a dangerous obsession. And we cut that out because I did not know until Alex started realizing it that Kyle was going to be a bad guy. For a very significant portion of the beginning of this film, Kyle seems like a lost soul. He's just hooking up with people from a dating app. He's not harming these people. He's just going about doing this repetitive task and he seems a little lost. And it's actually kind of sad when Alex finds him and he doesn't remember her and he seems kind of pathetic and like sad. And after a while, then it does become sinister and scary. And started realizing that he was not just this genuinely good lost spirit, that he probably was not a great person when he was alive, and now that's translating to him as a dead thing. And I did not know that until when she started discovering it, and I feel like that was something that I'm glad I did not know, because I from the moment that we met him, I liked him. I thought they were so cute together. They did like a perfect portrayal of all of these very like small intimate things that I don't think a lot of people like, just their behavior was so natural, and it just felt like the way that they would like caress each other as they were talking, or the way she would like rest her head in the crook of his arm. It did not feel scripted. It felt very real and genuine. So then when we find out he's dead, I'm like, oh well, that's sad. And now she's meeting him and he's confused about, and like I thought all of that was just very sad. And so then realizing like, oh fuck, no, he's probably gonna kill her, was a huge turn for me and something that I'm glad I did not know.
Yeah, for sure. And it's fuck. Why am I losing every thought in my brain right now? Well, yeah,
Defibrillator?
defibrillator probably. I did remember the thing that I was gonna mention, because I was talking about. I think also an interesting thing about this story is, and why I ask about Alex, is she just a person who enjoys sex, or is she an addict to sex? And because, first of all, when the movie first opened, I wasn't really paying close attention. And there's that sex sequence, and then the title card comes up. And I thought what had happened was the title card came up over her O-face. And I said to myself, if I was in a movie and I went there that I gave them my O-face and they just immediately covered it up with the title card for the movie, I would be so mad. And so I went back to confirm if I had seen what I had seen, and I'm so glad I did. Because what had actually happened is she was so into it, right? So into it. And as soon as the guy's head disappears and she tilts her head back over the edge so he can't see her face anymore, she just loses any expression whatsoever.
Yep.
She just doesn't give a fuck at all.
I mean, she gives a fuck, but she
well,
does not give a fuck about giving a fuck.
Right, yeah. Also, I wanted to ask you, because I want to make sure I understood this. So Kyle died because he got a friction notification while he was crossing the street, and he wasn't paying attention, and he got hit by a car. Did I understand correctly that the notification he got was his match with Alex?
Oh, I don't think I was paying enough attention to confirm or deny.
I'm gonna have to go back. I'm pretty sure there's at least a moment where, even if that's not the case, she maybe believes that she killed him. But so I don't know. That's because that was an interesting thing that I was like, I was honestly kind of waiting to see how that might play more into. Because I was immediately then like, well, then why did he, if this is specifically he's tied to her because of that, why is he going off with all these other people, right? And speaking of going off with other people, that brings me all the way around back to why I like this is Alex is not entirely innocent in all of this in a lot of ways. There was a moment where I was like, really curious about who was going to end up the quote unquote villain in this movie, because they had one night together. One night. And this, of course, is indicative of how much she's starving for something real, right? They had one night where everything was so different for her, and she becomes stalker fucking obsessed, right? And like, so the way they make you understand, because look, here's the thing, is I do not deal well with any kind of like getting really close and then all of a sudden that closeness is gone. So from that angle, I related in the most like shameful way to that, because like she tracks down that woman that he was with. She follows them all night. She goes to his workplace like 4 times or whatever. It's a really and what I love about that is it all plays into how do people find themselves in this situation to begin with. And it's because like they're broken, right? They're damaged, and that damage hasn't been healed. And the right thing comes in and just latches on to that. Just the codependence of, and this is why I say you could take the ghost story out of this entirely and it would almost be the same movie. Just that thing where what does he say to her over and over? Tell me you need me. Tell me you need, just the most blatant, narcissistic. Michelle, the more I sit here and talk about this movie, the more this happens all the time. And this is why I love these conversations. As I've sat in listening to your take on things and sitting here and talking about this, this is just a fantastic film, even without the, oh man, it gets real soap opera at times. I'm gonna bump this up from a 4 to a 4.5. This is, yeah, this is. Yeah, and this is why I love getting to sit down and have these discussions, is because that's where I really start to understand the movie. But no, this is so incredibly well developed, and a portrayal of how, and I don't think they show you her in that stalking pattern to make her unsympathetic. They're just illustrating how dark a place she is in, and that creates vulnerability to narcissistic abuse. And look, I'm just going to be straight with it. It's frankly really impressive to me that this was written and directed by a man, because I say this only because you seem to have confirmed it. This is really solid and accurate insight and understanding, and a really great portrayal of those situations. And that really, in a lot of ways, is very impressive to me.
It does make me wonder, despite being a man, if he has been in a relationship with somebody like Kyle. And still, like, even though this is like a woman's story, like, I feel like in order to write this, you had to have like gone through something so similar, because it is very specific and 100% spot on. It was
Sure.
co-written by Elric Kane and Webb Wilcox.
Yeah, I do wonder if how much of it is, at least in the writing, is Kane, and how much is the other writer. I do wonder that.
Yeah,
But
because
yeah,
either way, like, this is whoever had a lot of these ideas has been through this, because
yeah,
it like, I've never seen my exact situation portrayed so well before, where I'm like, yeah, you're terrified of him. You can't just leave. He knows where you live. You have to hold
right.
him down nicely and make him think that he's leaving because he wants to. Like, I know there's people who will not get it, but I 100% got it. And it's a beautiful way to tell that story in a way that I think more people might understand what she's saying. I
Yeah.
do have to say that I'm glad it's a ghost story because some of those deaths are real fun.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
The one lady
And
who goes back to his place or her place, wherever, and she's like getting held and strangled and you can't see him, all of that is really well done. The pool scene,
yeah.
very simple, but so, so effective.
Yeah, it was a really solid opportunity to turn those moments into something a little more instead of, I think in a lot of ways what it does is also takes away a little, like, this is definitely a heavy movie, but I think that does in a lot of ways kind of blunt the edge a little bit, not in a bad way. Just because if this wasn't a ghost story with that supernatural element, it would be really fucking bleak, right? And I
Agreed.
almost
Yep.
wonder if that was part of the decision to do it this way. Again, I do wonder how much of this started as, what if you got ghosted by a ghost? Right? It's something that simple, because tell me if somebody walked up to you and said that, you wouldn't immediately be like, "Oh, that's a good idea."
Well, I've seen that
You
movie
know?
before where they use that pun a couple of times, so
Oh, really?
I'd be like, it exists. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, here I thought I was clever and I'm just
No,
doing
that's okay. I watch a
something.
lot of content. So you asked how would I
What was
react,
that
and I'd be like,
movie?
I've seen that movie. I would have to go and look. It was not a good movie, the one that I'm thinking of. I do not remember the title, so if I remember, I'll tell you off air.
Uh,
So that I do not
also,
trash somebody's small independent Tubi thing.
something that I do think deserves to be mentioned. This a real sassy movie. It gets real. It gets real, like late night Skinamax kind of serious. At some points, I was like, Jesus, what's reminded me of. Well, I don't want to spoil that one, so I won't name it. But
Can you be vague enough that I would understand, but nobody else would?
that one where it's kind of H.P. Lovecrafty. And no, I'll just tell you after the show.
Okay. I am immediately thinking of so many things that are not H.P. Lovecraft, but I have
Well,
some ideas.
well, and I could clear it up immediately just by naming a name, but it's such a significant name for that particular movie that, like, as soon as I named the name, everybody would know what movie I'm talking about. In
The
short,
Meryl Streep Lovecraft movie. Yes,
right?
she
Yeah,
won an Academy Award.
yeah.
Yep.
In short,
Oh,
I
I know.
not.
I just got it. I know exactly what
Yeah,
you're talking about.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
But and I just there is a part of me that's always just like, even frankly with adult entertainers, there is a part of me that's always a certain kind of impressed by, man, like, you really just like got naked and went for it in a room, like, I mean, obviously not a lot of people, but in a room full of several people with cameras and stuff shouting at you the whole time. There's a certain amount of I sure as fuck would never do that.
I wish I could be the kind of person to do that, but also, like, no, if they were like, we're gonna need you to do this O face in a movie, I'd be like, this one, the surprise one? Oh, and they're like, not that one. And I'm like, that's the only one I can give you. I'm so sorry. I would not do good in this role. Thank you so much for your time. I will be on my way. And this is
That
why
was
acting seemed like a great thing when I was a kid, but in reality, no. No.
it was very funny to me because somehow it had escaped me from, or it had escaped my cleverness when you said this movie gives a whole new meaning to come inside.
I thought I was so clever when I
You
thought of
were
that,
so
thank
clever.
you.
That's good.
Thank you. It made
Yeah.
me giggle at what was like otherwise a really traumatic scene. And that was nice. 'Cause that's
Also,
when she's starting to realize, like, oh, this is great but bad, but great but bad.
right there, and here is, now that I think we've covered enough of the serious elements of this movie.
Mhm.
Also, again, real good ghost story when it does go into those moments, like you mentioned, the alternating between him being visible and not visible. There's some great moments where, as a result of that, people are in a room and they don't see him, but we can see him in a reflection that are really played effectively.
So good at that.
Yeah. It's a really quality bit of spookums in that sense. And once again, there was a point I was coming to, and it's completely gone.
What I will say is that this is maybe not their first big thing, but Elric Kane and Webb Wilcoxon, I have not looked it up. Webb only has 4 IMDb credits total, and this is the only one I'd heard of. Elric seems to have produced a bunch of things, but written only 6, directed only 10. I am really excited to keep these two on my radar and see what we get, because hopefully this will open more doors. I want to see their perspective when it comes to the directing is great, the writing is great. Let them loose. I want to see more stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And what I was driving to is we were talking. I was getting to, we've covered the more serious and heavy elements. I do have a question for you. So she goes to work that day, and dude is like, "You've been gone for 9 days. 9 days." Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine just fucking for 9 straight days?
No, even 9 hours seems like torture. So, no, thank you.
I mean, frankly, 9 minutes is pushing it.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. 9 hours, though, that is where that friction name of that app really comes in. And becomes accurate.
She's, first of all, she would not be walking to work. She might not be walking at all. I don't buy it.
She's very malnourished. She's not doing well.
Also, though, so I get it. Is ghost banging, but do you think, because this is the kind of things that I start thinking when you put too much sassiness in a movie, do ghosts come, like does he have ghost jizz? Do you think?
Are you thinking like Ghostbusters ectoplasm?
I don't know, maybe it's like, well, yeah, I'm talking about ghost jizz here, but what I'm saying is, like, maybe it's like part of, how he's a ghost and he can just like pass through things because he's immaterial. Like maybe it comes out of him, but it just like flies through her body.
Oh, that'd be so nice.
And then it just lands on
forever.
Them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that would be a much better thing. I'm only fucking ghosts from here on out.
I just had the most horrifying thought. Oh my god.
Oh no. Now you have to say it. Oh no.
Ghost, I can't.
Act it out. Pictionary, can you draw on this whiteboard what you were trying to say? I'm gonna do it, but I need just a minute. The thought that I had was it blasted out the back of her head like Bud Dwyer's bullet. I know. Well, that's our show, everybody. I had nothing to top that. Oh my! What the fuck is wrong with me? Well, that's gonna be another hour of the therapy portion. We don't have time for that. That thought just hit me fully formed, and I was shocked by myself. Well, it didn't hit you fully formed because it is ghost jizz, so there's at least some
Jesus.
immaterial.
Yeah, okay, well, fair enough.
I hope she can have a ghost baby. That's what I hope.
Is it a ghost baby or a baby ghost? Oh, Jesus, why did I do? No, let's just skip right past that. Anyway, Michelle, any other major points that you wanted to hit here on The Dead Thing?
I like that it was only 94 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Good job
I
being
mean,
reasonable.
yeah, not a lot of this. Look, for my part, again, just because I'm not a big lovey-dovey romance soap opera, just lots of fucking in a movie that's not porn, kind of guy. I feel like some of those things could have been trimmed down a little bit, but that's just my vibe. Some people like fucking mustard on their hamburger. Some people don't. It is what it is. But yeah, overall, really, really, really enjoyed this. A really pleasant surprise because, again, you show this to me on paper, an erotic horror ghost story. Frankly, if I didn't have to watch it for the podcast, I might have never watched it. So there you go.
I might have made it just a little bit into the beginning, and I went, there's not a lot of dialogue, and I probably would have tuned out and spent too much time on my phone and not paid attention. So I'm glad that I was forced to watch this, and then subsequently I enjoyed it. You cannot always judge a thing by its cover. I'm so sorry that I judged this movie by its very boring opening, even though, like, how do you make sex seem boring, you guys? We open with fucking, and I'm still not 100% hooked.
Well, yeah, but and again, that's also though kind of laying the groundwork for the whole story.
It's just a monotonous task. Watching her go on these dates, I was like, why? Why would you do this to yourself? I am so happy I'm married and I don't have to go on dates. One day, one of us is going to die. The other one's going to get lonely. They're going to have too many pets and they're going to have to go out and find a date. If that's me, I hope we have robot boyfriends by then because I cannot handle human interaction that reaches this level of intimacy. No, thank you. And this movie highlights why. They might be a ghost. I can't do online dating. I might get strangled by a half man ghost dead thing.
I don't mean to, because I know this isn't even remotely the point of what you were just driving at there, but I got hung up on a detail because it was something I
Ooh.
heard you say that I never would have expected you to say. And now I have to at least understand how you define the terms. Somewhere in there, you said too many pets.
Yeah.
How many pets? First of all, I'm surprised that you even accept too many pets as a realistic concept. That such a
Yes.
thing could even exist at all. But my
Well, I did grow up
question
in a hoarder
is,
household, and that was too
I
many.
look, I was about to mention that in my thought process here. Not all of my thoughts are blasted out the back of her head like Bud Dwyer's bullet.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
Jesus Christ. Um,
How would I
fuck.
define too many pets?
Yes. How many pets is too many pets, or does it depend on what kind of pets they are, or what?
It depends on the type of pet. I will tell you that I was happy with one dog, two cats, two chinchillas. And then the two chinchillas died of old age, not something bad happening to them. They were very happy, squeaky, grumpy little things that I loved. And then when we found the kittens on the side of the road and my husband fell in love with two of them and we had to keep them, that became too many because all four cats and the dog are obsessed with us and they want to go everywhere we are going. Two of the cats love John, two of the cats love me, which means that at any given point, I am surrounded by the love of a cat, and they won't just all coexist together because they're cats. And so I have to try to divide my time between the two lady torty cats who each have very different personalities. And then he has to divide his time between the two boy cats who are very lovey and dumb. And if one of us dies and we have to now entertain all four cats and they have to choose how we're going to divide our time between them, we will not last very long.
Well, that's another terrible thought. What is wrong with me today, Michelle? What I was about to say is, lucky for you, you're much more likely for the pets to die first. What
Oh,
is
that's
wrong
fair.
with me?
Yeah, I've already accepted that. I will never have more pets because I already have five deaths in my future, plus possibly my husband, and I can't do it. When my hedgehog
Michelle, how
died,
do you think
I
I
cried
feel?
for
I
a
have
week
rats.
straight. Oh, yeah. Yeah, when my hedgehog died, I cried for a week straight. My hedgehog, one of them, Perpin, he died on my birthday, And the next day, I went to the fucking zoo because I love going to the Minnesota Zoo, and I cried watching the monkeys. And
Yep.
I went, this is a bad place for me to be right now. And I cried basically the entire time I was at the zoo. I am not going to do well. I'm not going to do well. And I know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you okay, Michelle?
No, now I'm just thinking about all the possible ways that my pets could die
Oh, I'm
after reading
sorry.
that Reddit post.
No, I
No, I'm kidding.
yeah, I'm a rat keeper and I have been for over 10 years now, and I don't know how much you
Oof.
guys know about rats, but what that means is I have been through 21 pet deaths in the last 10 years. And I have 6 more of them. Excuse me, 22. I forgot my young boy Daniel just passed recently from an unfortunate cancer situation. But I have another 6 in my future, all within the next 1 to 2 years. Because I love me some fucking rats.
One of my best friends died, and he had loved my hamster, Mr. Bosley. We had Bosley, and then we had 3 gerbils named Drew Barrymore, Lucy Liu, and Cameron Diaz. So it was the Charlie's Angels and then Bosley. And he had absolutely loved my hamster, Bosley. And like a week after he died, Bosley died, and I was a fucking wreck because I was like, Jake took him with him. And now I'm sad again.
I
We're ending this on such a high note. Everybody's like, what
well
the fuck, you guys?
here let me bring it around to something a bit more contentious, Michelle. I really appreciate
Okay.
how I was trying to have this deep moment about how I've courageously dealt with 21, 22 pet deaths in the last 10 years. And then you just immediately swooped in and you were like, yeah, well, my best friend died.
No, it was about the hamster.
I know.
I was
I'm just
possibly
being a
more
jerk.
upset about Bosley.
Just quit trying to one up me with my death stories.
Phil, you have quantity, okay? You definitely
Yeah,
win
that's
for
true.
quantity.
And you have quality? Is that what you're saying? My rats aren't quality deaths? God damn it, Michelle.
I don't know how you would rank a high quality death. It was a very bad car accident.
Definitely. Jesus, what is... Oh, we should...
For any of your rats
we...
driving.
We should
Yeah.
probably wrap this up. Shit's getting real weird.
I hope one of your rats was driving though, because that's just impressive. Oh, okay.
He wasn't technically driving, but I wear him in the underneath the hood up on my head like a ratatouille, except he helps me drive the car.
Oh, I love that. You're probably too high and you need the assistance.
It's, you're not wrong. All right,
Yeah.
hey guys, that was the dead thing. Coming up next week. What is coming up next week, Michelle?
Hopefully within the next week they will get the missing episode 289 and finally figure out why we had to piece that one together. But after that, we will get Little Bites.
Little Bites,
morsels.
new film
Tiny.
from Spider One.
Yes.
Who
Yes,
gave
it
us a couple of years ago. He gave
Hallelujah?
us no something like that. I forget it specifically.
Allegoria.
Allegoria, that's the one. He also made a movie in between there called Bury the Bride that's available on Tubi. I'm gonna try to watch that one as well before Little Bites gets here, just because I'd like to see what he did between Allegoria and Little Bites. But yeah, that's what's coming up, and look for that random drop whenever Michelle is done investing what I am convinced is going to be anywhere from 6 to 8 hours of work.
Oh yeah, at least. Because I'm
Yeah.
a perfectionist and it will have to line up
Because
perfectly.
She's
I will
she's
say
a crazy
what
person.
I will say what I told you about Bury the Bride because you asked me if I'd seen it and then I had to go look and I came back and I said, no, I thought I had, but it turns out 2023 was just a year of a lot of bad shit happening to brides in the woods. So you'll have to let me know how it is because that was a theme for a while. I watched a lot of movies of engaged or newly married women getting murdered or chased down to become murdered or being haunted by a ghost of somebody who was murdered. 2023 had a lot of that. A lot of bad things happening to women who chose to be wed. And that's why you don't do that.
So you think only you think 2023 is when things got especially bad for women who chose to be wed, Michelle.
I kind of wish that I had gotten married in 2023 because it would be very funny. I'd be like, absolutely, I can say from
I,
experience, but I'm
I
also
well,
very happily married and I
all
can't,
I,
so that sucks.
Well, all I'm saying, Michelle, is that I think things were especially bad for women who chose to be wed significantly longer than back to
I have
2023.
no idea what you're talking about. 2023
I
was
know.
definitely when everything went south for women for the first
Yeah,
time.
yeah, they had been just so well respected as human beings right up until like
I
2 years
mean, their
ago.
fathers were willing to trade goats for them.
It
That
was
means
like
they had the highest respect.
it was probably all fucking Joe Biden's fault.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
let's
we've
get
come
out of
full
here
circle
before
and
we
now
go
we're
down
sad
that
again.
rabbit hole. Yeah, okay. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.